All right, I made a post about the challenges with film photography, and I forgot one very important detail. Very, very important. You might say, what? This is my Minolta rangefinder. It's the Minolta ALF. It's a 35 millimeter body. The lens is fixed, doesn't come off whatsoever. Imagine doing a nice shoot, right, or some street photography. You send a roll of film in, and these are the film that it uses, either 24 frames or 36 frames. Imagine sending it to the lab and getting processed, and it's blank. Blank? How? How is that possible? It happens. Because this body's all mechanical, while it takes a battery, there's no sensor to tell me if the battery's dead or not. And I said, you know what? I need to have some systems in place. So what I do now, every 90 days, if I'm shooting with this on a regular basis, I'm going to swap out the batteries. That way I know for sure the batteries are full. Also, another challenge you may run into, not knowing if it's colored roll or black and white roll. Because once the film's in it, you can't tell what roll is inside. If you don't finish the roll when you want to use it, it's going to be a challenge. Because once the film's in, you can't always tell what ISO film I'm using. What's the film speed? I don't know. I always set it on the bodies. That way, at least you have an idea. My Mamiya 645, another medium format body, I know it's going to be a colored roll. While I love processing black and white on this one, and it gives me 15 shots versus 12 here. Again, 12, there's 15 on this one. I know I'm going to use color just to be able to differentiate, between the bodies. And I also mentioned when things break, like this, my winder is broken. I can still use it to wind up the film, but if I'm not careful, it's going to fall off. I went to KEH trying to find replacement parts. It's been difficult so far, but I still use it when I need to. A couple of questions I received today about film photography, the type of bodies that I use and why. I use my rangefinder for all things street photography, in between portraits, maybe on a wedding day, or just daily journaling, documenting life stories. Because I set my ISO, which is the film speed. I set my shutter, and it does the aperture for me automatically. So there's no guessing. I have a light meter here, and I don't have to use it when I'm using this body. When I'm using these two other bodies, I use my light meter to make sure the lighting is what I need it to be. But this body, it's an easy way to shoot. Everything's manually focused. You look in the viewfinder and line it up, and you're good to go. Take a picture. And it tells you which ISO will be set for you. Again, I love this Rolleiflex. It's just an experience when using these bodies. It gives you very experiential. And the quality is just so amazing. All these bodies are amazing. The other question I got was, with the rising cost of film, why not use my medium format Fuji GFX? I love my GFX. I paid a lot for it. I got a lot for this thing. And also, with Fuji bodies, there's something called like recipes, film recipes. I can dial in some recipes that have a similar look to film photography. So that's the beauty of shooting with Fuji. The colors are amazing to begin with, and I can kind of dial in some settings or some recipes to make it look similar to film. It's not 100% accurate, but it's close. And I love using this body, but sometimes I want to go through the experience. It's like being kissed for the first time, depending how it was. Because while I love the Fuji GFX, I love shooting on film as well. So I use them both. When I'm at work, I'm using them both. I know when to use these bodies and when not to, because it doesn't make sense to use these bodies in every situation. We're not in 1985 anymore, so there's options. But when I'm shooting with my medium format film bodies, I'm also doing a digital backup just in case. Because this body's Mamiya, I hit this red button. I don't know if you see it, red button, and the light turns green, tells me the battery is still good to go. And that's been the same battery since 2020 when I purchased it. But I can't say the same for this Minolta, so I make sure every 3 months or so, I'm going to swap out this battery. And there's no batteries with my Rolleiflex, so we're good to go here. But it's just, film photography is just an amazing way to just experience photography, because it's something different. It's unique. And there's a lot of reasons why I shoot on film, and I'll talk more about that later, but I at least want to give you the downsides to film photography, because people tend not to think about it. They say, oh, he's shooting on film, let me go buy a film camera, let me go do this, not knowing there's some serious challenges. And this is on my 3rd year of working with film. And again, I had to come up with my own systems because I got tired of, man, what film's in here? Is the colors black and white? I don't know. And you're trying to photograph some flowers or some bouquet, you realize it's a black and white roll. Like, who wants a black and white roll of film? I mean, black and white of flowers? No. Flowers call for colored photographs. And if you're going to use film, definitely have a system. Identify which body will be color and which one will be black and white, if you want to go that route. And don't forget, light meter will always save the day. But if you don't have a light meter, you can always cheat by setting your digital body to match the ISO of the camera, your film camera, and then you can kind of check the exposure and dial it in with your film bodies. Because truthfully, I don't take this with me every time I go shoot. I'm like, hey, you know what? My ISO on this body is usually at 400 ISO. If I'm outside, yeah, I'm shooting 400 ISO outside because that's what my film is most days. And, definitely give it a try. Again, if you have more questions about film, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll be willing to answer your questions. Who knows? I might do a film retreat one day. We'll see. Anyway, gotta go.